Hello and welcome to the channel. I am Dave, Gamers World resident magic expert, and today we're doing some more box openings. This time we got a Kaldheim draft booster box, one of my favorite sets to draft in recent memory, and I'm looking forward to, having a look through the packs and see what I would have taken from them if we got the live draft this. Before we jump in, I'd like to ask you to do us a big favor, like and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these box openings. It's a huge help and really will help the shop and the YouTube channel. And if you enjoy these videos, the more you like, the more you comment, the more I can do. So I would really appreciate that. But let's jump straight into this box of, I think, a very beloved set. And if we were talking about a set not in COVID, I think it would have done very big numbers. I think the plane was really appealing to people. I think the kind of heavy metal aesthetic of the promos was really appealing. And I think the consensus is one of the best draft formats since maybe Cans. People speak of it in a similar ilk, with the 5-color snow deck being big, but also a bunch of other supported archetypes and some real interesting choices during drafting. Okay, so back to normal instead of set boosters, meaning there's an actual order to the packs. We get all the commons first, then the uncommons. Ooh. Glimpse is a nice one. Glimpse ended up being one of the better uncommons to draft in the set, or Dig Through Time as we nicknamed it, because it's essentially just Dig Through Time, but in uncommon form. Egon, our first rare. I'm going to be interested to see how people adapt to the flip rares when they come back to playing in paper. I love the design space that are the flip rares, but it is a little annoying to have the right type of sleeve. So do make sure you have non-see-through sleeves if you're out when we get to play back in paper, because I can imagine when we get playing, there'll be some demand to run some of the old drafts in Gamers World. I imagine Kaldheim is going to be high on that demand list. Target Shadow, that was a decent uncommon in the set. It turned out to be a bit worse than you would think for such a powerful effect, but still playable. We got our first alt art, Harold, King of Skemfar, I don't know how to pronounce that properly. Put that in our promo pile. And our first mythic as well in this pack, Quakebringer. Decent and limited, not like busted. Decent and limited, but hasn't made any waves in constructed. Thought there might be a bit of a deck with Bone Crusher Giant being a thing with it, but just hasn't kind of materialized. Another promo straight away. Inga, Rune Eyes was very good and limited. Scry Tree on a Hill Giant, a 4-mana 3/3 body with a relevant effect. Can't ask for much more. An Immerstern Predator, very powerful card that's already seen some standard play, but has kind of fallen out of grace. The sack deck, the red-black, the Rakdos sack deck, not really doing well. And a foil rare. Very nice. Not a high tier foil rare, but a foil rare nonetheless. We'll sleeve that up. Practice foil safety. So my favorite archetype, I think, in this draft format was Giants, and Squash just got higher and higher up the draft kind of order list for me, the pick kind of list, how high you want to take these certain cards. Another very high pick, actually, for one of my for a really fun archetype was Spirit of Aldegard, the Derp Bear himself. Of course, going in the snow archetypes, but just being amazing fixing in general. Old Grow Troll, not much to note there. He hasn't really done anything in standard, and he also wasn't great in the limited format. Triple green, while being easier to do in this format than normal, is still hard to cast. Maybe not worth it. This is a noteworthy card if you haven't drafted this set and you're waiting to do it in person. Goldvein pick ended up being better in the aggro decks than you'd give it credit for. Just efficient equipment. And of course, Avalanche Collar is just a mythic uncommon, just insane card. Same with Dwarven Hammer, actually. Whoa, that was a stack pack. No idea what I'd be taking from that first, actually, between these three. That's a really tough choice. The Retribution is the most powerful card, but is 2-color and leads you into an archetype that isn't... Black-white is good, but not amazing. Dwarven Hammer and Avalanche Caller leave you kind of more open, but are less powerful. Interesting pick. What would you pick? Tell me in the chat. What would you take from that pack? Traditionally, if you're drafting as well, removal is a really high pick, and very few limited formats where the best common isn't just a removal spell. And I believe this is one of them. So the best common in this set is likely the Serof's Packmate. Green common with Foretell. And yeah, that's just, it took a bit of time to grasp that and maybe Behold the Multiverse are better than Demon Bolt, which would be the premier removal spell common in this set. Arnie's decent, again, not quite a bomb. Seen some standard play already, and probably positioned to see much more when stuff rotates. Back in my day, we played Bogger the Ram Gang, and this guy is just like strictly better. Ooh, I love the shapeshifter cards in this set, and I think Mass Vandal is one of my favorite. It's a really well balanced card. Vega, Shepherd also fantastic, and Gravenlore, excellent card, probably the first pick out of this pack. We've got a foil, a card that I tried to build a bunch of decks around, Reckless Crew. I find there probably just isn't enough dwarves to make this deck work, as weird as that sounds. That's hard to explain without like laying out a whole deck plan for it, but this is maybe one for the future. As they print more cards, as the D&D set comes up, which might have more dwarves. This card is one to keep an eye on. Let's move the foils next to each other there. Foretell was a really interesting mechanic. Having a look at the 2 Foretell cards here. And it's what made this format really good, I think. This use for your mana all the time, and while it's not quite card advantage, it's this great I don't know if we want to call it tempo that goes into your cards, but it allows you to take up 2 mana slots and gives you something to do early game. Made aggro decks kind of bad in this format though. Turolf, the God of Fury, extremely good bomb and limited, and maybe good enough to see some constructed play down the line. Now, it's hard to explain without playing with the Foretell cards how important it is to have multiple things to do with your mana unlimited at multiple points, where Foretell just made it like super tough for aggro decks to compete, because one of the things aggro decks likes to do is punish grindy slow decks for not having a 2-drop, and now you kind of always have a 2-drop. Binding, huge impact in multiple formats so far. Mystic Reflection has not done the cool things people have wanted it to do, unfortunately. But maybe, still time. It's in standard for a long time. So there's still a lot of time for that card to make an impact. This was a sleeper card for me in the set as well, Master Scald. Just all the sagas, being able to bring back all the sagas. It's such card advantage, especially if you ever have a rare one. And 5 mana 4/4 is just fine if it has any upside. Just like Bergstrider here, the card next to it. 5 mana 4/4 was just a real nice stat in this format. Demon Bolt, one of the best commons. These lands would also go very underdrafted. Online anyway, maybe they won't once we're drafting in person. The Armory is bad, but the rest of them are very good. Not a fun card to play against in Limited. Get absolutely blown out in combat there by Sigurd multiple times. What can they have for 3 mana? My attack seems good. Oh wait. Not a chance. Not a chance you're getting away with that. Ice High Troll, another bit of a sleeper at the start of the set. Even when people knew snow would be good, they thought activating this for 2 snow would be a bit too much, but it ended up being very good, especially in sealed. I liked a Rune Crown, but kind of medium uncommons there. And yeah, this land has not done anything. Maybe it has an EDH. I could see that, some cool combos with it in EDH. I say EDH a lot in those videos, which I apologize for. I know it's Commander, but it's hard to break old habits. They'll always be dragons to me. You know, this card was definitely good, Poison the Cup, but every card in this format was a 2-for-1, and that's one of the reasons that the commons, the best commons aren't removal spells. So if everything's a 2-for-1, do we really care about killing one creature? Probably not. And that card, while still being good, just wasn't quite good enough. I thought this was rare for a second. I was going to sleeve it, but Invasion of the Giants decent uncommon. Actually was a bit unnecessary for that archetype in limited. So it ended up being a lower pick than you would think, and even tabling a lot while people were in Giants because there's just way more important things to worry about. Frostbite also ended up being kind of medium behind Demon Bolt and just didn't kill enough. And didn't kill often enough. Ooh, Crippling Fear. It's been a great sideboard card for Pioneer, for Standard, and for Historic as well. I can't imagine it's killing enough things to be good in the old Commander. Sentinel has actually had a huge impact on a format. It's seen a lot of Standard play, and it's just kind of been good enough. Our iterations of this card haven't been good enough before. Path of the World 3, don't sleep on this. Fantastic limited card. And, very nice Cosmina here. Alt art Cosmina, you'll have to see it. This is one of the pre-releases I think I miss doing the most in the store. I really like the themes behind this set. I'm a big fan of the snow mechanic, though it means that you can't play all the pretty lands you want or have collected over years. But I'm a big fan of the snow mechanic and the kind of pantheon of gods kind of stuff. I like Teros. I like that kind of mythologies kind of to sets. And while this didn't turn out to be actually one of my favorite sets of all time, I still liked it a lot. The foiling on this card is very subtle, very hard to see. Guess I'll put it with the foils. Cosmos Charger was a weird card in the set. Just open the rare there. Where it's certainly very good, and I'm never going to turn down having one of them in my deck, but I don't even know if I'd pick it over Behold and Multiverse, and that's how important 2-for-1ing was in this format. I'm not going to take what I think in other formats would be considered an absolute bomb for a card that says draw 2 cards. But maybe I'm going a bit too extreme. Ooh, Tegrid was definitely the first pick from that pack. That card was very good. Both the Lantern and the front side being playable. Some of the gods are interesting in that one of their sides are playable, and the other side is very niche, but when it comes up, it's good. She was just kind of good on both sides. We're seeing that a lot with the Strixhaven set as well, where a lot of the double face cards are kind of narrow on one side, generically good on the other. So when they're just good on both sides, you know they're bombs. Nothing that interesting yet. Some okay mythics, but nothing to phone home about. It's always nice to open these boxes because of the variety of the different kind of styles of art and stuff like that. It doesn't get boring, or at least not for me. I hope not for you either. Bastos Ravager, or them trying to do a kind of fair Flametongue Kavu, though it never felt fair and limited. Birdie, seen some splash in multiple combo decks in multiple formats. Was decent in limited too. 3 mana 3/3 with upside. Still good enough in limited, but not a bomb. Though her other side kind of was a bomb. So I guess I can't call her not a bomb because her 3 mana 3/3 side wasn't. The Horn was quite good. Ooh, speaking of bombs, Necromancer. Easy first pick out of this pack. That card might still do stuff, I think, in Constructed. There's some good black cards for possibly kind of a, not mono black, but like a mid-range black snow control deck. Blood in the Snow being a big one. Now, the problem with that deck is it doesn't get any additional things, but as stuff falls out of the format, maybe it just becomes strong enough. And it can still get some good spells, just not permanents likely. Ooh. Marshall, another card, another mythic that could see an uptick in play. At the moment, the White Weenie deck just has enough good cards, doesn't really want that 3-drop, doesn't do enough. Insane to me to say, coming from the era of Magic that I did, that a 3 mana 3/3 flyer with upside just isn't good enough. Just no thank you. You want as many of these as you can get. This card was nuts. Other people thought Behold was better, other people thought Demon Bolt was better, but I'm on the Packmate side. It's nice to have limited formats as well where that's still a disagreement. I think there's very few limited formats I can think of where I would say I'm open to a discussion on what the best common is. It just kind of becomes obvious. After you play 50 or 60 drops, but I don't know. Probably in the end, in this format, and that's still a great thing, came down to the preference of what deck you liked. So maybe I should have been picking Behold over it, because I like the Giants deck. I've had better experience with it, or I think it's the better deck. Well, that's a sweet pack. All 3 playable in commons. Saruf also very good in limited, though he has not worked out in constructed, as we've said before. What do you think, if you played the set, what do you think the best common end up being? Because I couldn't tell you you're wrong. It's still very hotly debated. Well, not as much now that there's a new draft format. Nexus, sweet card. I really like Nexus. I can imagine it being really good in a bunch of Commander decks as well. We've got the Amulet, All-Star Unlimited. Destiny ended up being a bit disappointing. I was dreaming of looping a bunch of like really good Foretell cards, but that's not kind of how this card played out. And even as I read it now, I couldn't tell you exactly why this card plays out so poorly, but it just doesn't do what you expect. It doesn't affect the board in the way you'd expect it to, and end up being low tier, even if you were like a blue-white value deck, which wasn't the thing very often in this format. Redain a Bomb, though. Ooh, I don't know. I actually don't know the pick there, if it's Redain or Foil Demon Bolt. I think I'd pick Redain. Her shield side especially can be completely game-shattering and limited. Demon Bolt is so good. That's close. Lots of Demon Bolts opened. Clarion Spirit, one of my favorite cards from this set. Playing it in Constructed at the moment. World 3 having a lot of effect with Golos, of course. Being able to fetch it and then activate Golos. Pretty important, seeing playing in multiple formats. Righteous Valkyrie also, for a while, was doing a very good job in Historic. Was helping the company deck there, though Historic with the new cards from Strixhaven has kind of moved beyond that, but still pretty strong. One of my favorite cards from this set. I had some early success with this, though. That's not really what the limited format ended up being about. Kaya's Onslaught and your kind of white aggressive decks was sweet. Especially, I think it's because people didn't play around it. Early in the format, complex tricks are hard to play around. You know, people just don't remember every card in the set. Also, foretelling it was kind of weird, where people early on didn't think of it as a foretell card. It's kind of this gap people had. Still fine and playable in the correct deck. It was still good, but for a while I was having major success with it. Blood Sky Berserk is also an interesting one, where I've even seen it see a bit of constructed play, but it's never as good as I feel it's going to be, you know? Cyclone Summoner, also you would think in a grindy format would be excellent, but end up being this kind of medium. I liked it. I enjoyed playing with it a lot, but wasn't the bomb you would think it should be in a grindy format. Though, a card I love, the Colossal Plow, or Uro Jr. here, was very good in the decks that I liked. 3 great uncommons, but a bomb and Cosmos Elixir at the end here. I think I'd be picking that. Speaking of drawing cards, Cosmos Elixir, let's go. Bergie, also one of my favorite cards from this format. It turns out a lot of my favorite cards for draft in this format have been ones that people, or especially I, thought weren't amazing at the start of the format, but by the end you really know where it belongs, what lane you have to be in to draft it. Runeforge Champion was also sweet. I liked early picking that, even though there's a risk of it just being a 3-mana 2/3, so basically unplayable. But when it was good, boy, it was good. This card, I don't think is having any effect. Just end up not being a good enough sideboard card. You see them a lot of uncommon. They're a little annoying. Jorian, solid card. Another foil. That was kind of a disappointing pack, actually. I don't know what I'd like to first pick from that. Jorian isn't as good as you think he would be, but he's fine. I'm probably picking him. Behold here, though. Ooh, Blood in the Snow. I love the art. It reminds me of Game of Thrones. If anyone remembers the opening scene from Game of Thrones series, just so good. Thought there'd be slightly more Game of Thrones references. They went minimal on the Game of Thrones references in this. Again, this looks kind of Game of Thronesy, the Priest of the Haunted Edge. They have the blue-white the blue-white owl, who's obviously a kind of nod to the Three-Eye Raven, but ooh, nice Mythic here in Coma. That's a card that's definitely, I think, going to go up in value as well over time. But yeah, I thought they'd lean heavier into it, like they did with Strixhaven and the Harry Potter stuff, but they decided not to. Maybe a bit too gory of a world to be leaning into for what is still only 13th plus game. Okay, last pack. Okay. Not an amazing value box. Some interesting concepts in draft, though, coming up. Again, we've said this on the other Kaldheim openings. There's so many cards with potential in this set, like that are seeing play and can see way more play in rotation, or if certain other cards are printed, that it's always interesting to open these boxes and really think about cards that currently aren't seeing play, but definitely could in the future. Thanks so much for watching the video. Again, do us a big favor, like and subscribe to the channel. Give us a comment. Tell us what you think of the videos. It really helps out the shop and the channel grow. But until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.